The West Virginia Mountaineers are coming to Provo, Utah for the first time in program history. What to expect from this matchup is Rich Rod and Kalani Sitake match wits once again. We're talking about it in a crossover edition of Locked On Cougars and Locked On West Virginia.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On Cougars and Locked On West Virginia. I'm Jake Hatch, host of Locked On Cougars, covering the BYU Cougars. That across from me digitally is my good friend, Mountaineer Paul, host of Locked On West Virginia. We are your hosts, covering both the Mountaineers and the Cougars every single day. I'm proud to be part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where, of course, it is your team every day. MP, today on the show, we're going to preview this matchup Saturday night under the lights at LaVell Edwards Stadium in Provo, Utah. Rich Rod and West Virginia's first ever trip to Provo, Utah. We'll talk about the history being made there. We'll also get to our keys to the game and the predictions, and it's all brought to you today by our friends over at Mazda. Now, Mazda's here for people who like to move. They like our players. We set every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned for later for highlights of this week's Moving the Game Forward by Mazda. Move and be moved. All right, MP, we are not sure who's going to play quarterback for West Virginia Saturday night here at LaVell Edwards Stadium, but we do have some news that at least one of the quarterbacks that would have, in theory, been in the mix has hit the portal.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate situation, man. Nicco Marchiol's a program kid. You know, he's been around for years now, and four-star Chandler, Arizona. A lot of hope with him. You know, he's one of those guys that if he was good at West Virginia, we were sure he would stay.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that hasn't worked. And so, you know, there's always that extra feeling of like, oh, that's great. Like, especially when you know a kid's pretty loyal to the soil. Unfortunately, with Nicco, it's didn't work out. There are a lot of things going around right now. Rich Rod said on his press conference last week, hey, he's out in Arizona. He's out in Colorado. He's seeing these specialists. We just want to have on the same page with our doctors.
Sure.
And it seems like this was, I don't want to say manufactured, but it was, you know, they went and saw their own doctors to probably get the answer they were looking for so that he could kind of go.
Well, and that's the thing about it is it feels like when you leave West Virginia, Morgantown, and travel clear across the country to see a specialist, that kind of tells you something that might be up, but that's beside the point here. So the bigger point I want to ask you, MP, who should Cougar fans, from my perspective, expect to see taking snaps on Saturday night when West Virginia comes to LaVell Edwards Stadium?
Listen, it was already going to be hard with 81 new players, right? We're in a scenario now where you're almost ready to hit the panic button because Nicco Marchiol is now transferring. Max Brown, the transfer from Florida and Charlotte, got dinged up on a play. He was trying to make a play. He finally got into the game last week, and we're not sure if he'll play this week. Jaylen Henderson, the transfer from Texas A&M, you know, unfortunately got dinged up last week as well. And so redshirt freshman Khalil Wilkins has been the guy last week that played the best in garbage time. And then we have a freshman named Max Anderson. If those other two aren't able to go, you're down to a true freshman and a redshirt freshman on the road in Provo? No. So hopefully it'll be between either Jaylen Henderson, Khalil Wilkins, and Max Brown. For now, I would lean towards Jaylen until he's either in or out, and then Khalil will be next. Khalil has a ton of upside. He's the exact quarterback Rich Rod wants for this offense. He's fast. He can make all the throws. He's extraordinarily talented. So it would be a mixture of those guys. It's not a simple answer, Jake.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's the other thing I was going to ask you about. I have watched Rich Rodriguez coach football for a really long time. I've always admired his offenses from afar. I obviously got a chance when BYU played at Arizona when he was the head coach for the Wildcats to watch a little more up close. But going back to the days of Steve Slayton and Pat White, back when he was at West Virginia in his first stint, it feels like to me this is a very quarterback-friendly system, and it's more of a plug-and-play deal than it is building a system around the quarterback that's in the program. Is that the case? Do you feel like they can, if whoever it is, they're going to be able to do what they need to do in this offense?
Yeah, if they had an offensive line, for sure. Unfortunately, this offensive line hasn't been great, right? Here's the way it works with his offense. It can be ran with anybody that's even mobile at all.
Mhm.
But when you find a special talent like Pat White,
Yeah.
or if Khalil's special with his legs, if Khalil turns out to be special, you can in turn build the offense around a player that way. If it's a little bit more organic, like it was with Pat. But yes, to answer your question, anybody can run the system. It's not a difficult system. A lot of 1 word, 2 word calls, and like a lot of these spread offenses, it's maybe a dozen plays dressed up in different forms and different formations. Rich Rod's not a big formations guy. He's an execution guy. You get up to the line before the other team's ready and you call the next play. Make them stop you. You out execute. That's why Rich Rodriguez has been so successful, because he's just hardcore to that philosophy.
All right. So we've seen the injury reports, and you've already alluded to the quarterback issues, the offensive line issues. That injury report for West Virginia shows wide receiver concerns as well. Just how banged up is this Mountaineer squad as they make this cross-country trek?
As banged up as I can remember, man. It's already toughened up with so many new players. It's already toughened up in year one. I'm not a big year zero guy. Like, I think everybody has varying, there's levels to this. There's nuance within year one, sure. But once you get to a certain point, it's like, man, maybe we should give him a pass on this year. When you're talking about rotating 5 quarterbacks, now, the turn point on that is like, okay, well, he chose them. You picked him to come in.
Yeah.
But Rich Rod was hired in December, Jake. He the portal was basically closed when he got hired, and the first crop of players were gone.
Yeah.
So this is a team built off the second spring crop, really, more than anything. And it's just not been totally fair. So, this is a tough situation overall for the Mountaineers. I think at the end of the day, they've been very competitive on defense at times, but they're trying. It's not an effort thing. They haven't given up on the team. They just faced 2 really good teams the last 2 weeks, and then another stretch against you guys. I think that's kind of where this team is at right now.
Now, it's almost ironic in a way that the defense under a Rich Rodriguez program is the stronger side of the football right now, but simply due to man power and the like for West Virginia, it appears the defense is the better of the 2 units. Give me a sense for how good this defense has been this year, because, yeah, you're right. They've played some pretty tough opponents, Utah obviously most recently, and the score would indicate it was a fairly large route, but I've seen from my observations of West Virginia, this defense has been hanging in there as best they possibly can.
Yeah. So the way I look at this is a couple of different things. So, they really played well against a good Pitt team. They really played well against a good Ohio team that was went to the 4th quarter with the Buckeyes. So I think what's happened is this: we're so inept on offense this year. You're starting. We had to replace our top 8 offensive linemen, So and then a couple of these guys just haven't worked out. So it's just been so bad up front that unfortunately the offense has been inept. So to give you an example, against Kansas, West Virginia went 3 and out on 7 straight possessions to start that game. So your defense, and then this is a system that moves fast.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about, you're not your regular 3 and out. You're talking about 60 seconds, you're 3 and out, and you were just on the field. So this team it's I like to use the word attrition, really, because that's what this defense is facing. The action or process of gradually reducing the strength or effectiveness of through a sustained attack or pressure, right? That's exactly what this defense is going through. They've continuously been put out on the field over and over and over again and perform to the point to where they're just rubbed raw. They need a week off, man. And this, thankfully, coming after this week, that's a good defense that's just beat to hell right now. And obviously there are some deficiencies, and I'm not saying it's a perfect defense, but you've got Zach Alley, who's one of the most creative and difficult play callers in America to deal with. He calls a lot of plays. He's very unusual in that for a D coordinator, very multiple. They'll do 4-2-5. They'll do 3-3-5. They'll do 4-3. They literally do it all. And we have some good players to do it with. We got one of the best corners in the league. But yeah, so it's been, I would give it probably a B on the year so far, even with the last two results.
All right. Well, coming up, Paul's going to flip the tables, and he's going to ask me questions about BYU, get a sense for what to expect. And they're making history. West Virginia, for the first time ever, is coming to Provo, Utah to play BYU. And it's obviously a cool thing to experience for Mountaineer fans. And I know Cougar fans are excited to see the Mountaineers in Provo, LaVell Edwards Stadium. We'll dig more into that momentarily on this crossover edition of Locked On Cougars and Locked On West Virginia. Today's show is brought over at FanDuel. Now, the NFL season is ongoing, my friends, and FanDuel is an offer you do not want to miss right now. New customer bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The best part about FanDuel is they got all the different options for you when it comes to your betting needs. Whether you like in-game betting, you like to put together parlays, over-unders, futures, odds, I don't care what it is. Our friends at FanDuel have it all for you guys, and it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving deep into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience that much better. So take advantage today. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, your first $5 bet can net you $300 in bonus bets, and it's all courtesy of our friends over at FanDuel. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Square. Now, all of us have our local spots, whether you're in Morgantown, West Virginia, or in Provo, Utah, or literally anywhere in between. The best part is your favorite neighborhood spots are running on Square. When the neighborhood business thrives, the whole neighborhood thrives, and our friends at Square want you guys to take advantage of this. Of course, we all have our favorite spots that they like to go to. A lot of them have a heartbeat, it feels like, of the neighborhood, and some that brings neighborhoods together are sports, whether it's gathering for game day rituals, celebrating the best wings in town, or in the case of Morgantown, West Virginia, or Provo, tailgating on game day. They've got all that option for you guys that helps make it feel like home to you. So take advantage now. And Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more now. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. It's all courtesy of our friends over at Square, where they like to say, see you in the neighborhood. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars and Locked On West Virginia your first listen of the day. Jake Hatch, Mountaineer Paul, along for the ride here. All right, MP, we're making history. We're going to have BYU and West Virginia playing in Provo, Utah for the first time ever. It's the 116th opponent all time that's played in Provo. What do the Mountaineers need to know about the Cougars? Pepper me. Oh, you're muted there, Mountaineer Paul. We got you. Got you on mute there, so
Sorry.
Okay.
We've actually got breaking news now as we speak. First thing you need to learn is Jaylen Henderson, I'm told, is out for the game in BYU. So a quarterback, another one out.
Okay.
Another one out. Unfortunately. So here we go, right? So that means Khalil Wilkins will likely get to start, or Max Brown. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I would likely lean towards Khalil. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So just wanted to get that out there really quick as we're moving along. This is literally in real time. Absolutely. So here we are. You said for me to ask you questions about BYU.
What do you got? What do you need to know?
So I do have some questions about BYU. Can I name a couple players and you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how much West Virginia should be worried about these players?
I love this game. Let's do it.
Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried should West Virginia be about Raider DeMooney? I want to start with him.
So Raider DeMooney, I would say a 7, because he has been a guy that going all the way back kind of the last half of last year. It's a former 4-star prospect from literally right up the road at Timpview High School, and finally kind of emerged the back half of last season, had a great bowl game against Colorado, and so far this year has been nothing short of Mr. Reliable at the strong safety spot. Now in BYU's defense under Jay Hill, that strong safety kind of plays almost a hybrid linebacker role at times, where they come up into the box and they're responsible for run
like
duty.
A nickel.
Yeah, they also have a nickel as well, but it's kind of interesting. They play a single high look almost exclusively on defense. You very rarely will see a two high safety look. It's just the way that Hill goes about his defense. But Raider, he's been really, really solid this year, and they've rotated quite a few guys at those safety spots, guys like Falatau Satuala, Tanner Wall, and Talon Alfrey. But I would say a 7 for Raider Mooney.
Okay, staying on the defense. Give me the combination of the best linebackers in the conference, Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker.
9.9, if not 10.
Wow.
Here's the thing. These are the two linebackers that make this defense go, Paul. They are so reliable, and they're just playmakers to the nth degree. That's the thing about this. They just get after it every single time they're on the field. If you want to see what the effort level is like for both of them, go back to the Colorado game if you're a West Virginia fan and watch Isaiah Glasker whiff on an initial sack attempt on 3rd down on Caden Salter for the Buffaloes, get back off the ground and continue the chase and bring him down for a 23-yard loss that really was pivotal in the result of this game. Had Colorado converted that 3rd down, might have been a different complexion of how that game turned out. But these two guys, they're NFL caliber linebackers, and they really are the heartbeat of what this defense is.
Last one. I got 2 more guys. Evan Johnson and Logan Latui.
Okay, Evan Johnson, I would say an 8. He's really emerged into one of the better cover corners, I feel like, in the entire conference. Far and away, BYU's best cover corner this season. He had a phenomenal 2 weeks. ECU, he was the Jim Thorpe player of the week after having, for the first time in program history, interceptions on back-to-back plays, one of them a pick 6 that really helped them get that win against East Carolina. And this past weekend, they tested him a lot, speaking of Colorado, and he passed with flying colors, it feels like. He is really coming into his own. He's got a unique story. He's from the Monterey Peninsula out there where like Pebble Beach is at in California. Let's just put it this way. That's not a recruiting hotbed. BYU was his only Power 4 offer. He was an offensive player exclusively in high school, converted to cornerback, and he's emerged as a really, really fantastic cover corner. So I would say an 8 on that front. And then Logan Latui, I would say a solid 6. Logan is a part of a rotation at defensive end, which you'll see 4, 5, 6 guys rotated that spot. It just limits his overall. There's a lot of dudes that are running through there. So that limits his overall impact, it feels like, just with how much rotation there is. But Logan is the veteran of that unit. It's a really young unit outside of him in many respects. But he's really been, I think, a nice player, a veteran leader, and a pretty solid football player at that.
Okay, so offensively, somebody I've always admired for a couple of years now is Chase Roberts.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. Chase is, I call Mr. Reliable. And I use the term on Locked On Cougars all the time. When in doubt, find number 2, because that's his number he wears. Because he is a guy that he will find himself open. If you get the ball to him, more often than not, he's going to come down with the catch. And he usually comes up with clutch catches when you need them the absolute most. It's kind of been crazy to see how he's been able to do that, because he's been the focal point of a lot of defenses, a lot of double coverage, bracket coverage, and the like, but he continues to find ways to get himself open. He may not have legit top end speed, but what he is, he's an excellent route runner. And at 6'4", 200+ pounds, he's got the size that can overpower other guys.
The hammer, LJ Martin.
Finally has come into his own. I would say he's an 8 in this game, because he is a guy that BYU has been excited for, a former 4-star prospect, a flip from Stanford, funny enough. And he came to BYU, and until this year, injuries had kind of been the storyline. There was so much promise with him, but he kept getting injured. And they've got to keep him healthy, obviously. He appears to be healthy going into this game against West Virginia. That's a positive, because he's
the backup's out, right?
The backup, Sione Moa, is out. He had an injury against East Carolina that required emergency. They called it an emergency injury. Is that I don't know what to make of that, but Kalani said he's going to be out. They hope to have him back at some point this season. But
that's scary.
It is scary. When your coach uses the term emergency, you never want to hear that, first off.
It's almost like an appendectomy or something crazy.
It's something on his leg, because there's been a photo of him circulating on the internet of his big thigh wrapped up. So something happened with his leg, and they hope you get him back. Absolutely, because they've been a 1-2 combo. Yeah, I don't know. It's been pretty crazy. But LJ,
kind of blood clotting or something, maybe.
That's what you got to consider. Absolutely. But the other thing is, you got it with LJ Martin. He didn't have his best outing against Colorado, and I feel like he is.
I watched that game. They keyed him.
Yeah,
they were stopping him.
Yeah,
and Bear made him pay.
Yeah, they said find number 4, and you're right. Bear Bachmeier, career high in rushing on his own because of that. But I think LJ is going to be a force in this contest.
So give me Bear Bachmeier, man. Obviously, he's been a stabilizing force at quarterback, though probably not the ceiling this year that obviously Retzloff would have had.
Yeah, they think that Bear is a future superstar in this offense, but he is a true freshman. You talk about the quarterbacks at West Virginia, the youth that's now at that position due to the injuries and the transfers and the like. Bear Bachmeier is playing his 5th game as BYU's quarterback against West Virginia. And it's crazy to consider how far he's come since the fact that he arrived in Provo, Utah in late June, Paul. He was a transfer from Stanford, didn't get any spring ball with BYU, got a few weeks with Stanford, but he's come in, he's memorized the playbook, and you and I both know the history of BYU quarterbacks, the Jim McMahons, the Steve Youngs, the Ty Detmers of yesteryear, even Jaron Hall, Zach Wilson recently. The only quarterback in their first 4 career starts to have 10-plus touchdowns and 0 turnovers, one guy named Bear Bachmeier. So pretty impressive stuff early on in his career.
Give me the number.
I would say he's a good 7. Keep an eye on that.
Last 2 offensive players I've got is 2 guys I really both admire as well for different reasons. You know, Cody Hagan is a do-it-all dynamo, runs, receives it. And Carson Ryan, the transfer from your hated rival Utah.
Let's put it this way. Let's start with Carson. I would say he's a 7.5. He's revolutionized the tight end position once again. He's not revolutionized, but reignited the tight end position as being a staple in BYU's offense. It's kind of been a position that's been forgotten for a few years until now. He's really brought in a do-it-all type ability with the blocking and the receiving element, and his ability to block downfield really opened things up against Colorado. Cody Hagan had that tornado reverse touchdown against.
What a crazy play.
And you know who sprung that? It was the blocking downfield by Carson Ryan. So I would say Cody's probably like a 5.5 because I don't think he's quite to where he's going to be maybe in a year's time. But I think that you mentioned he's in do everything dynamo. Absolutely. But Carson Ryan is the bigger force, it feels like right now.
So, okay. Obviously, I got to meet the Sitake patriarch, right? And Tom Sitake. So
yeah,
give me something about him before we move on.
Well, they call him Pops, and he is the nicest man you will ever meet. If you are a West Virginia fan and you get a chance to meet, they call him Pops, his name's Tom Sitake. He is just an absolute treasure. And we have all out here in Provo been lucky to get to know him. He is his son. Speaking of Kalani Sitake, BYU's head coach, he is his #1 fan far and away.
Oh, there's no doubt. It was so awesome talking to him. I'll tell you what he told me.
Yeah.
He said, look, when we first moved here from Hawaii and they're Tongan, he said, we used to sit outside the stadium and listen to the games.
Yes.
And I thought, and he said that, and then all of a sudden they're playing there and this and that. And I said, wow, man, what an awesome story, Mr. Sitake. You've gone from sitting outside the stadium, not able to afford a ticket, to ruling from within it. That's an awesome story.
Well, and that's the thing is they are a BYU family. Kalani tells it all the time. He grew up a BYU fan. He got lucky enough to play collegiate football for BYU under Lavelle Edwards, became a team captain. And as he says, I'm in my dream job as the head coach at BYU. And you're right, Tom, his dad is right there on the sidelines with him because Kalani remembers those days, when they couldn't afford a ticket. And now they're right there in the thick of it. And you're right, they're ruling from inside. And it's a phenomenal, phenomenal story. And they are exactly right for what BYU needs right now in this era of college football, because Kalani blends both the mission of BYU being a religiously minded institution along with playing high level football. And the results recently have spoken for themselves. It's been really, really fun to see.
Rich Rodriguez told a cool story. Did you hear his press conference?
I did. Yeah.
So he told a couple cool stories of Kalani being the role model for the conference, right? Rich Rod knows he's had his issues, right? In Arizona, he had something happen that would be really embarrassing. And I'm not excusing it or anything, but I'm saying, it's an embarrassing thing. I'm not going to put it out there, but look it up if you want to know.
Yeah.
And then, he is who he is. He's very animated, open. He'll cuss very openly. He's not exactly the guy you're putting on the cover of your role model magazine or whatever. Like Kalani is that, right?
Yeah.
And then he talked about, Norm Chow and obviously LaBelle Edwards meeting them 20, 25 years ago and talking shop and ball.
Yeah.
What a cool story from Rich Rod about staying in Provo for 3 days, just like I did. Me and Rich Rod are basically the same now. That's what I get out of that.
I'm sure you had a great trip out here. I know that he was talking so positively about the thing that, like, LaBelle Edwards, there are so many coaches out there of Rich Rod's era, because he's a little bit older in terms of where he's at in his coaching career. They remember what guys like LaBelle Edwards and funny enough, Bobby Bowden, LaBelle and Bobby Bowden were thick as thieves. I don't know how many people know that story, but they were very, very close. And
so from West Virginia then, or from Florida State, Bobby Bowden?
Mainly, I think Florida State, but I think they may have even crossed over during the time at West Virginia as well. But that generation passed a lot down to Rich Rod's generation, and kind of in turn, it's been passed down. I think Kalani's probably in that next generation after Rich Rod. It's cool to see how these different connections, though, link up. And that's the fun part about this, is you get to see these coaches that have these connections, because it's such a small fraternity. But you're right. 3 days in Provo, Utah will change your life. There's no doubt about it.
One last question for you. Do you think Rich Rod does not get enough credit for being not just one of the forefathers? He is the forefather of the offense that we run. That's confirmed by Urban Meyer. I mean, he's even said that,
Yeah, well, if there's anybody else, I'd like to meet that individual, because he's an offensive innovator. The read option, what he was doing with the Steve Slayton, Pat White era teams,
it gave us our edge.
It was revolutionary, and it really has given rise to what we call the RPOs and the spread offenses of today. And it's much like, let's say, 20 years before, almost 30 years before that, when LaBelle Edwards took over at BYU, he came up in the era of the wishbone and the option offense. And he said, you know what? We can't compete with that if we try to do that here at BYU. You know what we're going to do? We're going to chuck the ball all over the yard, and gave rise to what they call the air raid offense. And he's an innovator in that respect. So it's cool to see these two as offensive innovators, speaking of the histories of these two programs, because they have given rise to some of the major offensive philosophies that dominate our game today.
Now that you say that, you guys finished the job, right? You go to the national championship and you win it.
Yeah.
With the similar ideal in that we were running the read option before anybody even knew what it was in 2005 and 6. Not anybody, but most people. I mean, I think you had Urban doing it in Utah at a similar time frame. And we were one game. We should have won the national championship, right? Which is why, unfortunately we didn't, because we lost to a rival in the last game of the year. Mm-hmm. But, at the end of the day, we went and smacked Oklahoma 2 weeks later, a Sam Bradford undefeated Oklahoma by more than 20 points. So I think that team would have been a really good shot to win it that year. It's unfortunate we didn't have the playoff.
Yeah, that would, I think, would have changed things. And I know BYU won in an era where the pollsters were the dominant force, but I can tell you this much: we got to get to our predictions here. But I'll just say this: BYU has dreamed ever since winning that national title in 1984, Paul, of being back at the level they're at now and having a legit chance to win a national title under a playoff format. They spent decades waiting for this opportunity, and they are uber excited to have that opportunity open to them again. So yeah, I think that's a fun part. All right, coming up next, we will make our final calls. We'll get some keys to the game, what it'll take as this game plays out Friday night in Provo. We'll get to that next right here on this crossover edition of Locked On Cougars and Locked On West Virginia. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. Of course, Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. They deliver confidence with every rider, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anybody else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings that same philosophy and intention to how they craft every single model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery and a gazillion other options, it feels like. And the best part is you can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. It's all courtesy of your friends over at Mazda. Move and be moved. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars and Locked On West Virginia your first listen of the day. Mountaineer Paul, Jake Hatch, wrapping things up here, MP. We've, I think, pretty well chronicled the issues that West Virginia is facing in this contest. And our friends at FanDuel have them as almost a 3-touchdown underdog in this game. So it would be a pretty monumental upset, according to the sports books. West Virginia pulls this off. But Give me, I guess, the keys to what it will take for the Mountaineers to win this football game.
It's going to take my cats to shut up, for one. They have just meowed throughout this entire show. I've been trying to mute it. So, I think for West Virginia to win this game, number one, you're going to have a quarterback that can run the offense. I mean, I'll say this. If you haven't had a chance to go watch the fourth quarter against West Virginia last week against Utah, I know it'll hurt you guys to go watch Utah do well in a game, but Khalil Wilkins is what?
Here's the thing. More BYU fans than watch that game. I'll just say that. That's how I just wanted to add that. BYU fans, both these fan bases, they love to get after each other. They watch each other's games almost more than it feels like they watch their own games in some sort of
hate watch.
Almost in a way, yes, but continue.
So Khalil Wilkins is special with his legs. He truly, I don't throw that word around very easily. He's very special. With that said, he's going to have to, so if you want to give me I'll just give you a key. Early success. That's a key to the game. Early success. If you can get Khalil Wilkins rolling early, he can be successful. If it's Max Brown, I will tell you this. I personally on my show have said Max Brown should have started a couple weeks ago. I'm big on him. He is a very good passer. He's mobile and he can pass it. He started at Florida, for goodness sakes. And if you go put on his Florida tape, it's very impressive. He has an NFL arm. Unfortunately, he doesn't make NFL decisions, and that's been his issue in the past. If he plays, we have the receiver talent to really be a good football team. This is what's been maddening about this year. We've got 3 or 4 really good receivers. Unfortunately, Cam Vaughn specifically is a number 1 receiver on any team in the country. Ohio State, Alabama, name it. He would be a number 1 receiver or number 2 receiver there. That's how good he is. So, I think if we have a quarterback that can get him the ball, that would be great. The other thing would be obviously to somehow try to make Bear beat you and, maybe make him throw it at Michael Coach Jr., who is probably going to be first team all Big 12 for sure. If he continues on the current track, possibly he can get some All-American mentions. He's a very good player. We're very lucky to have him. But so West Virginia is going to have to hold LJ Martin in check on the road. I think they're going to have to be able to do their thing with the tempo. And last but not least, score some points. Like I said to Jerem Jordan on your show earlier, or on my show earlier, West Virginia is going to need 30 points to win this game at least.
Sure feels that way. I will say this, the keys of the game for BYU, no matter who's at quarterback, you got to rattle them. Whether it's Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasker, we talked about Logan Latui, I think guys like Hunter Clegg as well. They've got to bring pressure and rattle that quarterback. And the environment in Provo at LaVell Edwards Stadium has been a key factor in these games for BYU. 64,000 plus the 2 home games so far this year. Fully expecting it'll be packed to the gills again on Friday night under the lights. And the other thing about this, Mountaineer Paul, there is a moniker about BYU playing late night games after 8 o'clock. They're calling themselves, well, not themselves, but speaking of BYU fans, they call them the Vampire Cougs. I think it's somewhere like 95% of the games they have played in this window in the last 4 or 5 years they've won. So there's something about late nights under the lights at LaVell Edwards Stadium and BYU being a really, really difficult out in those circumstances.
Yeah, listen, it's a 3 touchdown spread, right? West Virginia, and that's the thing you sell to them, right? Rich Rod's selling it to them. Nobody believes in you. Right? Yeah. Nobody. One thing about Rich Rodriguez, before we get out of here is there's never been a coach there's never been a team that didn't get better that he's coached over the course of a year. They started at 0-3 last year at Jacksonville State. I know it's Jack State, still Division I, right? And you're talking about 2 years removed from FCS competition. They started out 0-3 after bringing in 65 new guys, and then they won the Conference USA last year. They had deficiencies. They had issues. And it was also year 3 of that regime. So it is a little bit different. It's not a 1-to-1 comparison. But I'll just say this. West Virginia is going to get better at some point this year. I don't know when. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know if it'll be now because it's such a brutal window. I think after the bye week, just keep your eye on West Virginia this year. I don't think we're going to Baylor it like they did. But I think we can probably be somewhere in that ballpark anyway. But yeah, could West Virginia pull this one off? It's going to be so hard. You've got not 1 but 2 days shortened because of the travel day. It's going to be at night in the window you talked about. It's going to be at elevation in front of 65,000 fans. There ain't no ice cream or swig that's going to save you from that.
Hey, let's just put it this way. I will just tell West Virginia fans, you come out here, you will get ice cream offered to you by BYU for free. It's a hospitality thing. That's one thing that they always give the away fans. And if you haven't given it a shot, try the Cougar Tail. You got to give it a shot. It's a big maple bar. I will just say this. I can't eat one by myself, so I would encourage you to share it with a family friend or maybe 3 and enjoy that as well while you're out here in Provo. MP, before we go, I know we're over time, but I know you made a trip out here to Provo this summer. Can you just tell Cougar fans, I guess, maybe your favorite 1 or 2 things about that trip?
There's so many things, and that video will come out Friday.
Okay.
There's a video about this. I've been working on it on the side.
Yeah.
It'll be coming out Friday, the day of the game. It's taken me longer than I wanted it to, but I'm taking time with it.
Yeah.
Anyways, my favorite thing, obviously my mom and I both came, the scenery. It's the scenery. It's the atmosphere. It's the cleanest town I've ever been in.
Mhm.
And I've been to some clean cities in America. You know, if you have a certain type of view in this world, I would say Provo is a great place to go as well, because you're treated so well. I was brought up as a Christian, and I was brought up as somebody that has those values. And so to be treated like that was awesome. And the people treat you so well. And it doesn't matter where they don't ask you about your anything, right? They just treat you well. The nicest people I've ever met in my life were in Provo, Utah, ever. And West Virginia is pretty nice people. So, you know, and then I'll probably say the food scene, vastly underrated. I mean, I could name so many places that were so good. And I mean, goodness gracious, the tacos that we ate. What was the name of the place that I ate the tacos at?
I'm trying to think. Did you go to Holy Taco or did you go to Jurassic? I don't remember which one you went.
Well, no, it's a really, really cool. It's not, it's like kind of uppity place. Knock on it. I wish I could remember the name, but it's like one menu, but, yeah, it's got like I think it might have an animal in the name or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like a hit spot. I know that. UVU took me there, or not UVU, but Utah Valley.
Visit Utah Valley. The guys.
Yeah, visit Utah Valley. They took me there. I have it in my video, but I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was an awesome place. The food, the people, everything was great about it, man. And also, lastly, I got to visit LaVell Edwards Stadium, take video of that. I got to go in the visitors' locker room. Not the greatest visitors' locker room, but they're not supposed to be. And I loved the home locker room, man. It's elite. You guys have a great locker room. It's right on par with West Virginia's, and we just put, I think, $53 million into our stuff a couple years ago. So,
well, I'm looking forward to that video, and I gotta give a shout out just publicly to guys like Skylar Beltran, Lee Adamson, and the rest of the team at Visit Utah Valley. They brought you, Drake Toll out, and I had a chance to catch up with both y'all while you're out here. And looking forward to this game, MP. It should be a fun one. Late night, obviously, for West Virginia fans. It's 10:30 Eastern time, but
we'll be there.
The environment is going to be, I think, absolutely electric. So enjoy it.
We will. We're excited about it. We have a lot of people traveling up for this, by the way. I know hundreds so far. So, I mean, that's just who I know. So there will be one thing about West Virginia fans is they travel. So
much like
it's been hard for us in this conference, but we do try.
Well, there we go. All right, MP, if Cougar fans want more of your information like that video on Friday, where can they get it?
Locked On West Virginia. It'll be dropping there. I'll be dropping it on X as well, at Paul Mountaineer, which you see right here underneath.
Yep.
By the way, did I not tell you that I was picking West Virginia to win?
Oh, we got to make her. Yeah, you picking West Virginia? I'm surprised. Come on now.
Well, listen, it's Locked On West Virginia for a reason, like Jerem told me earlier. I'm going to go 30-27. And look, I'm just counting on Rich Rod to turn this thing around at some point. It's upset alert.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say I've got BYU 31-13. I don't think it's going to be that close. I just think the injuries are going to catch up with Mountaineers in this one. But I'm with you. I think West Virginia, they get that bye week. They heal up a little bit. I think the back half of the season could be a different story for them. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Well, MP, as always, thank you for joining me. By the way, if Mountaineer fans, if you want more information on BYU, check out Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast focus on all things BYU, much like MP said, on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. But for Mountaineer Paul, I'm Jake Hatch. As always, thank you for being with us and making these two podcasts your first listen of the day, and come back tomorrow and be an everydayer on Locked On Cougars and Locked On West Virginia.